Hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio C Block. I'm Bobbin, and you're watching episode 21. We are in a new area that I have set up for hydro-refining bobmonium. Bobmonium was being produced before, but it wasn't being hydro-refined, and we weren't getting the chunks for it. And I decided to go ahead and set that up specifically because I wanted to get cobalt. Cobalt comes from hydro-refining and then sorting bobmonium ore. Noisy machines. So I've got my cobalt set up. It's coming out here. It's going onto a line right here. It's obviously already full. The game has been running quite some time since the last episode was made. And it's coming through here. It's being made into ingots, and then it is getting used to make not cobalt plates, but cobalt steel. And that's over here. And the reason we needed cobalt steel was just to make the new lab upgrade. I'm not ready to make the lab yet, but some work has been done on that, making progress on it, and we've got a little cobalt steel there for when we need to upgrade them. It's also used for a few other things. I don't think there are going to be any sort of issues with it anytime soon. The other thing that I want to show you today, actually I have a lot to show you today, so let's talk about what I've got to show you today. I need to show you some cleanup I've done on the bus in preparation for making the main area drivable. Along those lines, I've got engines and batteries set up. I'll show you that build. One thing I did do between episodes was I went ahead and got modular armor. At the moment it doesn't have anything in it because I only recently got the batteries in place, and of course you have to have batteries to power it because at this point we're just looking at solar power for the armor. I don't think I'll make any of those this episode, but I will make some of that equipment and stick it in here. So I'll have power, and probably the night vision will be the important piece for the moment. Most of the suit stuff takes blue tech, and we don't have that yet. I also went and took all that oil that had been made before, and I processed it, sort of manually placing chemical plants and doing stuff and processing everything one at a time. I got it all processed and made basically some rubber and some of the chemical laser flash fuel that we're going to need for the labs and our initial set of blue tech. So I've got that in place. The other thing I want to do today, besides just show you some of the changes in between, I want to set up concrete brick production. Concrete bricks are part of all of the tier, well, you're typically tier 3, but not necessarily always. But if I wanted to make liquefier Mark III, for example, I need concrete bricks. If I want to make electrolyzer Mark III, I need concrete bricks. So a lot of the higher tier buildings are starting to need different materials, and I can't upgrade until I actually put those materials in, and the one that's holding me up right now is concrete bricks. So we're going to make some of that. The other really big project between episodes that I'm sure you will be glad to see is I have set up a prototype system for geode processing. So I do have some geode processing working now. It is working just fine. It's actually providing probably the majority of the mineral sludge that I'm using for metals production right now already. And we'll take a look at that and see how that's working, because I'm using a slightly different approach than I have seen most people do with it. I'm not going to say it's a novel, new approach, but it's a little different than I've seen most people do with respect to a certain question that comes up in geode processing. Before we get to that, though, let's go ahead and set up the concrete because I think it will be pretty quick. Now, if you are just laying concrete for paving, the vanilla concrete recipe is in here. You cannot use that to make the bricks that we need, though. The concrete bricks have to be made through Angel's casting, and that involves production of cement. So let's go in here. This is the location where I made the glass. And so I don't even remember what all this stuff does. Why do I have a flare stack in here that's not connected to anything? Why do I have an electrolyzer in here? I don't know. None of it's hooked up. Oh, I probably have it because we're going to need it for concrete. Okay, let's go through and look at what we've got for the concrete. I do know why that's there now that I think about it. First step is to make cement, and cement is made in a powder mixer, and the only recipe we have available for it right now requires silicon ore and lime. Let's pick that. Here's my powder mixer. I've just sort of already put it sort of where I think I need it. I don't know for sure. Let's go ahead and put down an inserter, and we'll start loading some silicon in there right now. And I'm going to need lime. Conveniently, I'm already making it in this blast furnace in the building with the glass. So let's just run some lime over here, and we'll insert it into the powder mixer. And naturally, I get all the conveyors backwards. But it's been fixed now, and for some reason, there we go. Now we're getting lime in here. So this is making cement now. To make cement, we need to make it into concrete. Concrete, let's come over here and take a look. It's made here. We're going to need slag, cement, and water. This is why I had to have all that stuff in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our cement into the assembling machine here. I suppose I could run it over on a belt, but I think I'd rather go ahead and use the loaders. This is going to be a kind of a funny little arrangement. I don't guess I left enough space. We'll just do a ugly looking S-curve here, but it works, and now we've got cement going in. So we have cement in our assembling machine too. We need to get the other components, which are slag and water. I'm not 100% sure how to get it over there. Let's take a look. I know we're going to need slag and water, and we can get slag from doing our slag electrolysis that we've been doing all this time. I need to get rid of my oxygen, and I guess that's why I have these flare stacks here. So we can just run that there, and we need to get water in here. Let's run water. You know, I think I'm going to need to run it over there. And the reason is because I need to get water across as well. Can I run water? Oh, you know, I've got water coming through here. So let's just extend these pipes a little bit, and I can run water through. Let's take that underground and move it. It can't go through quite there, can it? Wow, I made a complicated mess for myself here. I should have been better prepared. Okay, but we can run it around the building that way. Probably not that far. Okay, rotate the building around, and may have to clean this up in just a little bit. We'll see. Now to get slag in, I'm going to need to get it out of here. Why don't we create an opening here using some underground belts? That way I can get to it. I am definitely making a mess today, but we will have our stuff quite soon. Can that run between those buildings? It cannot. I didn't leave enough space for that. But I do have some red undergrounds, and I think they will reach across. Almost. Well, let's see. We'll put that there, and we'll do another one of these little things. And now we'll have a route across. Man, we're just being horribly ugly here today, but I think it'll be all right. This, incidentally, is the first time I think I have ever seen a recipe that runs in the assembling machine that has both an input and an output for fluids. So the next part here is we're going to have to cast it, sort of. It doesn't use the casting machine, but we're going to make the concrete bricks, and so we have to input that fluid in somewhere. And I guess maybe the nicest way to do it is just to go ahead and move this. So we'll put it there and set it to the appropriate recipe there. And I'll just take and output the bricks, and we'll use a right angle inserter so we don't take a lot of extra space. let's see, we want the drop position there and the pickup there, so yes. Alright, the only thing that I've still got to do is I need to come over here and set this to actually output all that slag that it's been producing, and let's see what happens. The truth is, this is not going on a belt. It's only being used for this little bit of construction. In the short term, I'll probably just come and pick up the bricks. Eventually, maybe robots will pick them up instead. So we are producing bricks, and they're going in there. So I have my first 4 concrete bricks made, and it's horribly messy in here, but that's okay. I will come by and get these whenever I need to take and upgrade a building. So let's look at the next project. The next project is to look at the bus that I did a cleanup on. I've basically been taking and rearranging all of this stuff on here. It's all nicely paved now. I ran all the belts up and down the belt. Although I don't think I'll need to use red circuits up here, I do have the option if I need to. So I've got all this stuff going up, and what I've sort of worked on is I've worked on making it so that all the pipes that run across here, I changed them to move into this little channel over on the side that I've marked with hazard concrete. And anywhere it crosses the bus, I've tried to have the center where it has to come up above. I don't have any kind of pipe that will span this whole distance, but I can span half of it using brass. And so I've arranged to have all of the little above ground pipes in the middle, same as the big electric poles, so that hopefully I can drive around here without hitting too many of them. And this is like this all the way up and down, so it looks very nice now. And if we go down, way down here below this building, we can see where I have set up some production. Here we have the battery production line, so it's actually got batteries off of here. We basically needed to make some sulfuric acid and bring in some lead and plastic, and we can make batteries. And they're coming out on a line here that doesn't go anywhere. I haven't decided to put them on the bus. In a vanilla playthrough, I would put batteries on the bus, and in fact I would put them on the same belt probably as electric engines. But you don't need batteries directly for research in this pack, I don't believe, because of the science tweaks. So there doesn't seem to be much reason for that. There is a reason to make them together. These are regular engines. They will get upgraded to electric. I just need to run lubricant up here and set up an assembly for it. But once I have that, I'll have batteries and electric engines in the same spot. So I will be able to make flying robot frames. And that's part of the objective here, because I am moving towards robots. The battery setup is pretty close to balanced. I basically have 1 sulfuric acid plant doing 7 battery plants, and I have 2 of the sulfur dioxide for the sulfuric acid. That's pretty close. The only really noteworthy things here are, first of all, I put my sulfur into a big requester chest. This is an Angel's logistics chest. It's oversized, but it can be served by logistics robots. I don't know if it will be only the Angels ones that serve it, or if all of them will. I think it's all of them, but I need to test that, so we'll find out. The other thing that's a little interesting here is I didn't use a hydro plant to generate the purified water I needed. I went ahead and used a chemical plant, and I'm just combining hydrogen and oxygen from the electrolysis, since it's a waste gas. That's not really an issue. When you look at the energy concerns, the hydro plant is a little cheaper for generating it, but you're also going to need you're going to have to eliminate the salinated water, and in order to do that, you've got to have a purifier. And here, this stuff is just waste products, and so it's not really a problem at all. Down here on the engines, this is a completely conventional engine setup. The ratio on these is correct. It should be 1 gear wheel to 2 pipes. The thing that's incorrect about it is that that's enough gear wheels and pipes to make 20 assembling machines doing engines, and I've only got 5 here. It would be a little silly to make 20 of them, so really you didn't need this ratio, but that's okay. So let's take a look at the geode processing. It's up here, and it is very complicated. So we have all of this stuff going on here, lots of things moving around on belts, lots of geodes moving out. The thing that I've done a little differently about it is usually there's this question of, should you crush the geodes and do the dust, or should you slurry the geodes directly? And each approach has its drawbacks. The main drawback of crushing them all is that it is less productive. You don't get as much sludge out of it. On the other hand, you do have to have a separate source of mineralized water, and you're not going to have the benefit of crushed stones that you would have gotten from crushing them. So that's sort of the benefit of crushing them all, is that you have a lot of crushed stone coming out of the process that you can convert into mineralized water. In this particular case, what I decided to do is I'm crushing some of them and I'm slurrying the others. And which ones I do which way is important. If we look at the recipes for these, let's look at crystal slurry from blue geodes. This takes 15 sulfuric acid and 5 blue geodes, and it gives 20 crystal slurry. Notice the important thing here. It takes 15 sulfuric acid and it produces 20 crystal slurry. If we move on to the cyan, it takes 15 sulfuric acid, which is the same as the other, but it produces 50 crystal slurry instead of 20. So the cyan ones are much more productive than the blue ones, but slurrying them takes the same amount of sulfuric acid, which means that by comparison, the blue ones are extravagantly wasteful of sulfur. Now, you might have plenty of sulfur, and so that's not a big deal, but it also affects how much mineralized water you get out the back end and that sort of thing. And so really, I would prefer to take the low value ones, which are the blue, the red, and the yellow, and crush them, and the high value ones, and slurry them. And that's what I'm doing here. So if we look at this line, we have this rather complicated little sorting and splitting arrangement. It's not too bad, really. It's just using splitters to take and split them off and then split the stream again. But we're taking the red ones and the blue ones and the yellow ones and crushing them. We're also crushing some slag. This is taking the waste stream from all of the ore processing and just all the ore processing, the crushing, the sorting, the hydro refining. It's getting all of the solid waste materials, the geodes, the slag, the crushed stone, from all of that, and it's coming down this belt. So there is slag in this stream. All of that stuff that is going to be crushed goes up into this section and gets crushed. It then returns all of that into the warehouse where we're getting all of our stuff. Now, one of the other things that's going into the warehouse, you can sort of see it on this line that there's sulfur coming down. That's coming from over here where we are processing all of the sulfuric wastewater. So everything is basically centered out of this warehouse. So we have coming out of this warehouse, looks like 6 different streams of material: crushed stone, sulfur, crystal dust, purple geodes, cyan geodes, and light green geodes. Those are the 3 high-value geodes, the ones that produce either 40 or 50 slurry for each slurry operation. Those are all going down. Now the crushed stone is coming up here, and it's going into these 2 machines right here and being converted into mineralized water. I'm actually running a slight surplus of mineralized water here. The mineralized water that comes out of the waste processing from the ore processing is also coming to this tank. So I'm recycling everything I possibly can in all of my ore processing. The sulfur comes over here and goes into sulfuric acid production. I had originally set this up to have a hydro plant to purify water, but what I found after running it for a while is that this process generates excess purified water. So I've just got a tank here to hold a bunch of it, and I'm clarifying away the excess. The crystal dust and the purple geodes, the cyan geodes, and the light green geodes are all meeting the same fate. They're coming over to these liquefiers and getting slurried. I will say that if this was running full blast, there is not enough filtration up here to handle all of the slurrying, so it kind of will lag behind. At the moment, it's not really running full blast. It could run faster. We do have aside from all the waste, we have a stream of geodes coming in here. This belt actually contains every product associated with the geode production, including landfill and sulfur, but mostly what's coming through is all different colors of geodes. And that's coming from way over here, where we've got washing plants producing geodes. And it looks like our geodes are backing up just a little bit. I should probably replace this belt with a red belt. That may happen at some point soon. It's not going to happen just yet. But we've got a little bit of slag because I needed, I think it was oxygen for this to convert the sulfur. So we've got hydrogen sulfide coming out of this first plant. It's going in here and getting reduced into sulfur using oxygen. Actually, I guess that's oxidized into sulfur, but anyway, it's being converted into sulfur. We're flaring off the extra hydrogen. So there's really just a tiny amount of slag. This thing barely runs, but it does need to provide oxygen, so there's a little bit. Then we have these plants producing geodes. Geodes are produced in a mixture of 6 different colors, and the way that this is balanced, it looks sort of random, but it's not. What's actually happening here is that if you multiply the production rate of the geodes here by the amount of slurry you get when you slurry the geodes, each different type comes up as exactly the same number. Anyway, that's sort of an aside to see where these numbers are justified by Angel in the mod. That's where they come from. Okay, so all the geodes come through here. It's all being melted down. This process has been running without any real issues. I may, if I keep getting more and more mineralized water here, I might have to put a clarifier on here. I don't know. I do know I probably need a pump where these are, but I haven't made any pumps yet. I just got engine production going. Engines are necessary to make pumps. Is there anything else here of note? Oh yes, one interesting aside. I am using charcoal filtration on this instead of ceramic. Ceramic filtering has the advantage that it produces slightly more product, but it does so at a cost, and the cost is that you get less waste. So if you're recycling your waste through here to make sure you get plenty of mineralized water, then you are going to have to supply additional materials in here. Strictly speaking, it's probably better to do that, but I actually want to go ahead and balance the thing as best I can here. Eventually, I think there's going to be surplus sulfur, and I might have to go ahead and do some extra, add an additional filter over here, let's say, using some purified water and the ceramic filters. We'll see. So far, I haven't needed to do it. I did get a nice compact arrangement on these by using right angle insertion. So that was a little helpful here with the filtration. So what else do I have going on? Well, not just a whole lot. I've had some backlog on my electrolysis over here because these machines are not producing as much as I'm using. I have redirected more of this production into landfill. I'm going to need a lot of landfill because I am looking at, once the research gets going on the blue, I have blue research up and running regularly, I'm going to have to start looking at what you might call base 2.0. This base is really, I mean, I've invested a lot of time in it. I've got this nice bus going up and down here, but it's really just a starting base. At some point, I will have to go to a much larger base to produce the stuff I need. That is one reason why I never bothered to make multiple copper lines and multiple iron lines. It's just not necessary. At some point, I will be giving up this base. I'm probably going to go for a new base using a sort of a block-based design with trains running. I don't think it's going to be a block-based design like you typically see. It will still have many of the same features, but I'm going to try, for example, on the rails to use all 3-way intersections, so it's not going to be some nice, neat grid. We'll see how that works out. So I don't think I have anything else going here. There's been a lot of change. Nothing is just really leaping out at me as needing to be looked at. But I did want to show you the geode processing. I did want to get the concrete bricks. That's really kind of about it. So that's the update on how we're going here. And in between episodes, I'm going to probably start working on something to show you with robots. I'll have to get my electric engines going and maybe start setting up a supply depot so that I have more than just belts on hand. It's kind of annoying to go and craft, pocket craft inserters and everything. I haven't had a problem with it because I just haven't. It's a little annoying to go and get things, but I'm going to have to go and pick up things. If I'm going to pick up inserters, I could just as easily go pick up iron or circuits or something. Anyway, that is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.